Hey guys, welcome to the video. So we're going to be ranking the different characters in Lord of Nazarick, and I've gone ahead and put Momon on the S tier since he's my favorite character and I think everyone will agree that he's the best in the game. For most of the characters I'm ranking, I'm assuming you have at least 4 stars on them. I just think 3-star characters are not that good because you're going to be missing out on some buffs or effects. For example, on Momon, if he's on 4-star you get 1 extra hit on his ult, and if he's on 5-star you get to purify some debuffs that are on yourself. So let's go with my next favorite character, which is Armor Albedo, and she's also an S tier, not just because I like her, but she's the best tank I feel in the game, other than Platinum Dragon Lord, but I haven't unlocked him yet, so I don't know for sure. Next let's do this Albedo, which was in the special event thing. I'm gonna put her on A tier. She's a little good. I don't have her, but I fought against her a few times. She doesn't really do that much damage and her health is not that high, so I usually take her out before she does too much damage to any of my characters. Next, let's look at Shell tier. So Shell tier, originally I would have put her in B tier because there's no easy way to get her. I got 1 of her from the first time purchase reward, and I don't really have her at 4-star either. But I was doing the treasury dungeon, the one with the tree, and I managed to clear the level 13 only because of her, so I'm going to push her up to A tier. I still wouldn't use her in actual PvP or anywhere outside of that dungeon. Maybe there's a few dungeons where I would use her in, but yeah, she definitely came in clutch for that tree dungeon. Next we'll talk about Valk Shell tier, so I'll also put her in A tier. She's as good as Armor Albedo as a tank, and when I fight her in PvP she manages to heal up quite a few times, so she's not easy to take out. I think if you have her, she's a good all-round player for PvP and PvE. Next let's do Demiurge. So Demiurge, he's maybe S tier or maybe A tier. I use him in most of my teams. He's good at doing burn, but if you put the correct armor set on him, which I think is the Desolation set, he gives random debuffs to everyone, plus he's more likely to land that stun move he does sometimes, so I think maybe he can even go in S tier. Actually, let's put him in S tier. So next is Cocytus. I'm gonna put him in B tier because I feel like he's the same as Momon, it's just Momon is better than him, so I'm gonna put him in B tier. Next we can do Mare, so she would go in A tier. She does a lot of damage and she has healing skills as well, so I think she's a good all-round player if you want to use her. I don't use her in PvP or anything. I've only got her up to 4-star today, so I didn't really have the chance, but in dungeons sometimes she becomes useful, especially because she does a lot of damage and she also has a healing skill. So if you need to do a lot of damage and you don't have enough space in your team to put a healer, I recommend using Mare there. Next let's talk about Aura. So I'm gonna put her in B tier, and actually she's strong enough to go in A tier, even in S tier, but she's so easy to take out even at higher levels that her damage is irrelevant since she dies so fast. For Sebas, I'm gonna put him low in the C tier. He does do a lot of defense, not a lot of damage, but he does do a couple of debuffs like defense down, and since he has high defense he does last a long time before he dies, but I just haven't found any use for him so far, so I'm putting him in C tier. For Pandora's Actor, I'm gonna put him in A tier. I've heard a lot of good things about him. He does healing and stuff like that. I haven't unlocked him yet or played against him, so I don't know, that's why I'm just putting him in A tier based off what I heard. So for Dragon Lord's armor, I'm going to put that in S tier as well. I think it's as good or even better than Armor Albedo. I haven't unlocked him yet, but I've played against him a lot, and he definitely keeps the team safe. So you can have him and like 3 damage dealers, even damage dealers that have low HP like Aura, and then he'll defend them while they do their damage, so that's pretty good. And he has two skills which I like, which are the World Isolating Barrier that puts up a shield over your entire team, and then he also does the same thing that Yuri does, which is where when you're about to attack someone, he steps in front of them and takes the hit for them. So you're getting something I think better than Armor Albedo here. Gazef, again I'm going to put him in B tier for the same reason that I put Cocytus here. He does the same thing as Momon, except Momon is better, but I would put him maybe in A tier just because he is green. There's not a lot of green damage dealers that I found in the game so far. You can see that Sebas is green as well, and I put him so low because his damage is very very low. Mare would be the only high damage green character I've seen so far, but again I don't really use her in too many teams because of how easy she is to kill, same as Aura. Princess Rena, I think she definitely goes in S tier along with Pestonia, so the two of them are the best healers in the game. I don't use either of them, I use Inferior just because I like the buffs and stuff that he gives. But yeah, if you have Rena or Pestonia at 4 stars or above, I would definitely use them over Inferior. Actually let's do Inferior next. So he goes in A tier, and I think he's one of the only SR characters that I'd put in SA tier. His healing, he can heal the entire party, and he can also heal like one individual member of your party. It's useful when he does that skill that heals one member of your party because it also gives them some buffs. I forgot what the buff is, but it's always useful to get a free buff. The one thing I would say that I don't like about Inferior is that healing skill that heals only one ally. It counts as an aid skill, not as a healing skill. So when you're doing an auto battle, he randomly uses that skill when it's not needed. For Evil Eye, I'm gonna put her in A tier as well. She does a lot of damage. I have her at 3 stars at the moment, so I don't really use her, but even at 3 stars I noticed she does a lot of damage. I think that's mostly because a lot of the enemies and characters in the game are red characters, and she's a blue, so she does more damage to them. Also, I've just got a new relic set for her that should have increased her damage by a lot, so I'm definitely gonna try her out once I get her to 4 stars. Now let's do the SR characters. So I'm just going to pick out all of the ones that I don't really like and put them in D tier for now. These are characters that I wouldn't really use. I know this guy, he does a lot of debuffs, people say he's good, but there's better options like Demiurge for that. This Vampire Bride can also be good to do like bleed damage and stuff. In the dungeons where you need to do bleed damage, she comes in handy, but it's not really useful for anything else. For this character, Lupus Regina, she does a lot of healing damage, a lot of healing, so I'm gonna put her in B tier maybe. There are some better healers than her, but she was the healer I used throughout the entire beginning of the game, so she's definitely useful. This guy, I know a lot of people don't use him, and I've seen him being put low in other tier lists, but I think he's actually A tier because I've been using him up until about level 60 or 65, and he was doing the most damage other than Momon. So he's definitely something that I think a lot of people have been sleeping on. If you star him up to about 4 stars or 5 stars and you max him out, I think he can do a lot of damage. So yeah, next is Hamsuke. I think he's good, but he's not that good. I don't use him in my team because he dies way too easily, so I'll put him in B tier. The reason being is he is good, like you can use him in the same team with Momon and Brain Anglaus, but he dies so easily that he's not really useful. Maybe in certain events he can be useful, or certain dungeons, but I've never used him before. There's other options that are better. Next, let's look at Brain. So Brain, I'll put him in the A tier. He does not that much damage, but he can get off a lot of hits. His ability that lets him attack people before they launch their attack, that's definitely worth it. It does a lot of damage. It's basically like the second skill of Momon, where if someone attacks, Momon gets another free attack after them. except with him how it works is if the enemy attacks you just before they launch the attack, he gets to hit them once. That really comes in handy, like when the enemy has basically 1 HP point left and they're getting a free hit basically because they were about to die but they managed to survive with that 1 HP point. He can take them out before they do their free attack, so that's useful. Next we'll do Albedo. So she's an A tier, an S tier. Albedo with the SSR, which she becomes after you get her to I think 3 stars or 4 stars. She becomes an SSR character and she's on my main team, or at least she was. I had to take her out to put in the healer or the tank, and I also put in Brain on the team so there was no more space for Albedo. And actually, since I used Brain in place of her, I don't think it's fair to put her above Brain on the tier list, so I'll put her in A tier. And next is Yuri Alpha. So I think she goes in A tier as well. I know I'm putting a lot of the characters on the top tiers, but a lot of them are really useful and you can use them in most PvE and PvP stuff. There's only a few bad characters, I would say. Most are just the SR characters or Sebas. Nabe, I think I'll also put her in the low C rank. There are dungeons I've seen where she's really strong and she can take out a character in 1 hit, but for me, I just don't like her. She doesn't do a lot of damage on any of my teams and I haven't found a good team that uses her abilities well. I'm gonna put more of these on D tier. The reason why I'm putting most of these SR characters on the D tier is because I made a mistake of upgrading this character and another character past level 60, and I put a lot of mats into them and now it's basically lost because these characters aren't good and I can't get them back unless I get the resetter item. So I wouldn't recommend upgrading any of these SR characters, especially if you're gonna do it above level 60, because you're just gonna be wasting mats and you're not gonna be able to get them back. Enri, I can put her in C tier as well. She does good healing, but Inferior does better healing, and then if you have these 2 healers, they're way better, so that's why I'm putting her this low. Basically all the other healers in the game are better than her. That's not to say that she isn't a good healer though, she does good healing, it's just that the others are better. So for this guy, I forgot his name, I think it's Nigun. He does healing as well, and the angel that he summons does the thing where if one of your players gets attacked, the angel goes and attacks the person who attacked. So I think that's called chase or assist, and that's why I'm putting him 1 step above Enri. The healing is also good on him, he can heal. I think he does more healing than Inferior, Lupus Regina and Enri. I just feel like he gets off more healing skills during a battle than the 3 of them. But yeah, if you have any of these 2 healers, Princess Rena or Pestonia, that's like, you don't need the other healers. So this goblin guy, I heard he can do a lot of damage. I've also seen him in some dungeons where he does a lot of damage, but I don't think anyone would put him on their main team, so I'm gonna put him in C tier. Then this Entoma, this is another character that I made the mistake of upgrading past level 60. So I lost most of my mats on this character, so I'm gonna put her in D tier just because I lost a lot of mats on her. She's way too squishy when you get her to, even at a high level. With by the way, I have her on 6 stars, so she's 6 stars, level 70, and she's still way too weak. She has good relics on her, she still gets squashed easily, so I don't think she's useful. A lot of people put her in higher tiers, but I don't think you should use her at all, because if she's 6 stars already and I have good relics, prism relics, she's still getting squashed so easily, then I don't think it's possible to make her any stronger. Clementine, I'm gonna put her in B tier. I haven't used her, but in the one dungeon where they give you her as an extra character to use, the defense down skill that she does is really useful, and I think she has a 70% chance of landing that, so she's useful if you don't have anything else to fill your team with. But yeah, that's all the characters for now. If you're wondering which characters I use in my teams, it's Momon, Armor Albedo, Demiurge, and then I use Brain Anglaus. and sometimes I use either Albedo or Shaltier, and then sometimes I have Mare in my team only when the dungeon needs it. But yeah, I think using Momon and Armor Albedo, and then the other two characters, you can just use whatever you need for that specific dungeon. For Demiurge, I recommend keeping him in most teams because the debuffs he does are really good, and then that stun move that he sometimes does is really useful. If you put the Desolation armor on him, he gets that stun more often and it lands more frequently, so that's really useful. If you combo him with Armor Albedo, there's a move I do where in the first round I use Armor Albedo to taunt all the enemies, and then all the enemies have to attack Armor Albedo, and then hopefully in the second round I get off the stun by Demiurge, so basically I've wasted 2 turns of the enemy. And if I pull that off in PvP, basically it's an easy win, so that's a good combo to use. But yeah, Momon is the best character just because he's my favorite. So, and that's the end of the video, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a better idea of which characters to put in your lineups now. Hopefully Momon. But yeah, see you guys in the next video. Also, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like.